Alright. Hi, I am Bryce Muller, and this is my redefinition of marijuana. Marijuana, or weed, has had a long history of human use. Most cultures used marijuana as an herbal medicine, while others used it for things such as textiles and rope. Political and racial factors in the 20th century led to the criminalization of marijuana in the United States through its legal status, although its legal status is constantly changing in many places. As this legal status changes, the norms around marijuana must also change. There are both mental and physical effects of marijuana. Some of these effects include euphoria, mood changes, increased appetite, and heightened sensory perception. Along with these good effects of marijuana, or seemingly good effects of marijuana, there's also negative effects that can occur, such as anxiety, fear, or panic, which is more common in people who abuse the drug. The amount of THC in marijuana, which is the chemical responsible for the drug's potency, has dramatically increased. The amount of THC in marijuana has dramatically increased over the past few decades. So in the late 1800s, marijuana was being sold in pharmacies and doctors' offices to treat stomach problems and other ailments. Scientists later discovered that THC was the source of marijuana's medicinal properties. They used this to create the drugs called Marinol and Syndros, which are prescribed in pill form to treat things like nausea and stomach pain. The recreational use of marijuana started with a substance called hashish that was used throughout the Middle East and Asia around 800 AD. Marijuana was not used recreationally in the US until the Mexican Revolution, when immigrants introduced recreational practice of marijuana to the American culture. This was around the early 1900s. Massive unemployment and social unrest during the Great Depression created a public fear of evil weed, and as a result, 29 states in the US had outlawed cannabis by 1931. Alright, so the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 criminalized marijuana nationwide. It imposed an excess tax on the possession or transfer of marijuana, making it much harder to get your hands on or redistribute. The picture on the right-hand side of the screen is a picture of the stamps that they used on marijuana when distributing it. Samuel Caldwell was the first person to ever be prosecuted under the Act, the Marijuana Tax Act, which was the day after it was imposed, and he was sentenced to 4 years of hard labor. The Marijuana Tax Act was repealed in 1970 by Richard Nixon when he listed marijuana as a Schedule I drug along with heroin, LSD, and ecstasy. This means that he said it has no medicinal purposes. In the Compassionate Use Act of 1996, California became the first state to legalize marijuana use for medicinal purposes. Colorado and Washington were the first states to legalize marijuana for recreational use in 2012, and they were soon followed by 16 more states, making a total of 18, by 2021. Here's a map of the U.S. showing you which states marijuana is legal in, both medicinally and recreationally. As weed becomes legal in more and more states, social norms must also change. This evil weed mentality that was established in the Great Depression is fading away as time passes. People should begin to view marijuana less as a Schedule I type drug and more as something like alcohol that can be used more recreationally and legally, of course. And here are my sources.